G'day, my name's Kieran Hurley. I'm a trombonist and arranger and Santa's little helper with the Perth Symphony Orchestra. My first music teacher, as far as trombone goes, was a man called Jim Hardington, or maybe Jeff Herbert. It was a long time ago now. I learned a fair few lessons. One of them I don't use anymore is they used to have a metal pen, and every time I put my hand in the wrong position I'd get wrapped across the knuckles. So that was one of the things. But I suppose the music teacher I learned most from was a gentleman called Kirk Jarris, who was a trombone player for the Glenn Miller Orchestra and also played with the Jackson 5 recording sessions. And when he was speaking to me about playing the trombone when I got more serious with it, he actually said to me, so what style do you want to play? And being a young bloke, I said, oh look, I want to play jazz and I want to play rock. And he said, well, if you want to play jazz and rock, then you need to learn your classical technique more than you've ever learnt it before. So the lesson I learned from him was it's always about having the technique there, being able to play, because if you don't have the technique, you can't play the music that you really want. So having that technique there allows you to play any type of music that's put in front of you. It allows you to improvise. It allows you to hear and play things by ear. So to me, it's always making sure that your craft is at the ultimate level so the art can come through. My favourite performances are sometimes the performances that don't go quite right, and they're the performances then that make you come back and really rely on your earlier training and everything else. Very famously, a gig I did here in Perth with my own jazz fusion band called Mantika. We had a position where on stage my trombone broke, the water key fell off the bottom of it, so I had to wrap it in gaffer tape. The guitarist had actually fixed his tooth, believe it or not, with super glue, so he was getting overcome by fumes and fainting. The drum kit had broken and we had no hi-hat or kick drum, and the saxophone player was actually having a bit of a diabetic episode and was fainting on stage. We were terrified. We had to be on stage. We played for 2 hours. And at the end of it, the audience came up and said, that's the single best gig we've ever seen you guys do. And I think that was one of those times that sticks in my memory, because everyone was working so hard and we were such a cohesive unit. And that, to me, is my favourite sort of gig, when everyone is just there together in the moment and working to make it all happen. The best advice, one of my great pleasures to know, is a gentleman called John Hoffman. John was the lead trumpet player for the Buddy Rich Orchestra. He's toured with Sammy Davis Jr., played with Ella Fitzgerald. He's an incredible player. And the two pieces of advice he gave me that were so very good, the first one was simply play the pretty notes. And he said, no matter what you do, he said, make it pretty and make the notes work. And the second one, when someone said, but how do I get better? It was very simple. He just said, well, whatever you did last time, do it one better. Whatever that one better could be, you could play a dynamic better, you could articulate something better, you might have split a note slightly so you don't split it the next time. But every time you put the instrument to your face, you just try and play it one better. And that, I think, talks to lifelong learning and passion, and that's the best advice I've ever gotten and the best advice I would ever like to pass on to people. I'm very lucky. I come from an artistic family. My father was a set and costume designer and a visual artist, and so he used to take us to all the Queensland Ballet and the opera and the light opera company things, and whilst he was looking at the sets, I had my head in the orchestra pit looking at that, and I just thought that was the most magnificent thing, that these people were there and they had in their hands inert lumps of wood and metal, and yet out would come this music, and I was just fascinated. And I think it's from that moment that I wanted to do it. And I do remember him looking at my mother once as I was leaning into the pit nearly falling over, and just looked at her and pointed to me and said, well, we've lost him. This is what he's going to do. And yeah, it's what I do to this day. Oh, you know, you can't go past a good 80s power ballad, but really bad ones. So or music with bad lyrics. Kenny Loggins' lyrics are just terrible. Danger Zone, Metal Under Tension, I mean, that's a horrific lyric. But usually the 1980s real dodgy power ballads are something I like listening to occasionally. And if I can, if I'm fair to myself, when I am on my walks and all by myself, I will be doing the drum parts as I walk along. And I've got a great crash cymbal move that I use when I'm by myself. So that would be it. I don't have many hobbies outside music. I think obviously my family is the biggest thing outside my music. I've got a wife and 3 kids that I love, with all my heart. Apart from my family, I do teach. I'm the director of music at Guildford Grammar School and have been for a number of years. I enjoy walking, so I do walk 5 to 6 kilometres a day just for fun. It gives me a chance to listen to the music I want to listen to now and not the stuff my kids or my wife like. And apart from that, really, I enjoy writing music. I write music for everybody. For strings, for winds, for jazz, for classical, for rock, for whatever it happens to be. And that's something I actually really enjoy doing. So pretty dull when you look at it like that. My worst performance, the one I remember most, and there's been a lot. There have been performances that I'd like to forget. One of them that happened very recently, and I won't say which performance it was, but it was with the Perth Symphony Orchestra. When I got up on stage and I was asked to introduce something, and I did so, and the audience responded really well, and I was so happy that I went and started playing and forgot to put my glasses on. And the first part of the piece was absolutely fine. Then it got to a piece that was rather fast. Now, unfortunately, with my eyes, I can't differentiate between verticals and horizontals well, so the music turned into a black blur, and I had to rely on my memory. That's okay, but the piece I happened to be playing was a 20th century work that had no harmonical chord progression that was very memorable. So that was one of my own personal times when I had to stop and made a bit of a joke about it and laughed, and inside I was absolutely dying. And still to this day, I think I was going home and just going, oh, I can't believe I did that. I was so dark on myself. But music's one of those, it's an art form in time. If something happens, it's gone. You can't get it back. You've got to power on. But yeah, that one definitely is here, forefront of my mind. Not well. I play trombone, I can play a little bit of trumpet, I do play a bit of keyboard, bass guitar, I can play a bit of drums, and apparently I can sing. Some people say, I don't believe so, listen to me, I've got a voice like Barry Crocker's. But look, trombone's my main passion, and has been since I started off, so I like other things, but I'll always come back to trombone. And I do want to learn the theremin. If you don't know what it is, look it up.